So we are going to finish today this topic that we were talking about. Um, Blessed are those who mourn, resignation. We have been talking for the past 2 weeks about this, and which is important as well. Like I said in the past weeks, not necessarily a topic that it is an easy one for us to deal with, but considering the times we are living, or if not us necessarily, perhaps other people that are around us, dear ones. So it's always important for us to have this perspective. And one of the things when we are considering the case of, going through all those struggles, understanding the purpose of struggles, and coping with the so many losses, because when we talk about laws, we are not talking necessarily just about the laws of a physical life, but many other kinds of losses, like for instance, laws of a financial situation, laws of a job, laws of a friendship, laws of a relationship, laws of something or someone that may be dear to you, lost through death, lost through to moving from one place to another, meaning you're starting a completely new life. You have to leave behind everything that was there. And when we are talking about those kinds of things, even though sometimes we may be very excited about some of them, it doesn't mean that we are not going to feel something, or of course stronger or less stronger, depending on how and what sort of things we are talking about. And this is when the cycle of acceptance is very important for us to keep in mind. uh, is the cycle of acceptance of grief that was proposed also by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. We will talk about her a little bit. And so everything starts from the point one, where we are living a normal existence, capable of being objective, valid reasoning, and clouded by doubt and undue emotion. Everything is okay. Everything is according to what is normal. Okay, we are not saying here that is peachy, but normal, the what is supposed to be a normal life. I remember once I was going through a very difficult period in my life, dealing with illnesses and all this. And I said, you know what, I need therapy. I went to the therapist, I went to the psychiatrist, and I said, you know what, this is really going to be a struggle. I think I need, in order to go through this phase, I will need one of those happy pills. And then she looked at me and she said, well, there are no happy pills. What we do have is pills are going to make you feel normal. Because, of course, when we get into a state of despair, we are not in our normal stage. And I never forgot about it. It's not that is going to make us feel better than before, but like the normal stage. So it was when we receive bad news. And so the first reaction normally will be, wow, that's bad news, right? There is that moment of shock where something, and like, remember that I said, it doesn't mean just anything related to death. Any kind of bad news that may happen around us. I'm sure I don't need to bring any more examples than we mentioned. The third stage is going to be the stage of denial. This can be true. This is not happening to me. Is when we cannot accept And first going through that period of normalcy, receiving the shock, and say, no, 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 this cannot be. This would be the third stage. The fourth stage is when uh, uh, after this moment where we say no, we go through a state of anger, like, this is crazy, I can't stand meals like this, I don't accept, all of those things that comes to mind. And remember that this is not necessarily going to happen in just one day. Normally when we receive bad news, we kind of stay numb for a while. It may be 24 hours, it may be a month, until we go to that stage of, no, this is not actually happening, there must be a mistake, or I can go out of this, I can rid myself of the situation. And then when we see that no, you cannot do that, is when it comes rebelliousness, this anger, this aggression, like it's saying here, I'm going to slap anyone who says anything more about this. I'm going to sue my doctor because he's not doing all he can to do to help me, and various other forms of attacks, such as shooting the messenger, right? This is the first stage when we go through this period of cycle of acceptance. And then comes depression. When dealing with denial, when expressing our rebelliousness, we realize that there is nothing we can do to change that. Oh no, it is true, there is nothing I can do, it's hopeless. And then is when the realization comes, and we were putting too much of our expectations on that something, and we realize that it's not going to change. And there is a whole new process from that moment on that we will have to deal with. What am I going to do now? Right? And we feel hopeless. You feel like everything was going according to plans, and all of a sudden this happens and took me out of my route. So this is the situation. So they say here there can be also confusion, an early stage of bargaining, continued anger and denial. Why did this happen to me? I didn't do anything to cause this. What am I going to do? All this kind of situation. Then come to the sixth stage, that is this one of bargaining. I should accept that things are not going to change. Then I can go on with the rest of my life. If I stop feeling miserable, I can think clearly again and maybe even find a solution. So that would be the normal process for us when we are going through a situation that is going to make us feel like this. After depression, it will have to come a time that, well, I cannot just stop my life now because, I had an accident, because I was diagnosed with diabetes, or I lost someone that is very dear to me to death, or I lost this job. So whatever the reason that put us in this cycle, there is no way we will not go through this cycle. This is a natural reaction from our emotions as a spirit. We may and we should go through them as fast as possible. There will not be a moment of shock. There will not be a moment of trying to say, no, wait a minute, this cannot be true. There will not be a moment where you feel enraged, and that you will not feel sad about the situation. But then is when you start, after, going through this period, start saying, well, but I cannot just stay like this the rest of my life. I have to move on. I have to do something about it. And when acceptance arrives, well, it could be worse. I'll just have to make the best of it. This is starting to look like a blessing in disguise. I'm glad this happened. We can even come to this realization. Let's say that we are talking about a job. You had this job for I don't know how long. It was everything okay. Maybe you were not that happy, but you said you were very comfortable in terms of thinking about doing something else or looking for another job or risking another opportunity. Now all of a sudden you lose your job. You have no other option than to go through those stages and accept and get a new job. And at the end of the day, maybe you come to the realization and say, well, you know what, I'm glad after I went all through that, I'm glad this happened because it gave me a new opportunity. It made me do things that perhaps I was not going to do if it was not because of this occurrence. Like, when people have a heart attack, for example, and they survive, and they start taking better care of themselves and eating better, exercising, feeling more energetic. And with that, your self-esteem go higher. And all of those things that actually will be contributing in you say, it's not that I'm happy that I had a heart attack, is always an area of concern. But on the other hand, I'm living, my lifestyle is so much better now. I feel so much better and even healthier than before, all those things. And this is the cycle of acceptance. But like we were saying before, it is inevitable that we go through all that. Should we or are we expected to go through that by ourselves? Not really. That's why, we have friends, we have families, we have a spiritual community, we have faith, we have all those things that will be there to work in a chain of people and things that can release you from having to carry the burden by yourselves. It depends on us, of course, because there are people that they simply shut themselves and shut everyone else of their lives, even when they are with their best intention. So and there are professionals as well that will help us deal with all of this. If we feel that somehow family, friends, environment is not happening. Okay, so I'm going to stop now for you to make your considerations, questions, sharing, whatever. Okay. Anyone?
About the depression, then for me, I mean, living with someone, this situation, and my question for you, I don't know if it's really able to answer me, but I believe that depression, when the person don't accept any help or push far, the family and friends, and you mentioned, need to take some medicine and professional help then, because it's not able to face all this situation. Because for me, when you are in this state of depression, you cannot see anything right or understand anything around you. And then you cannot walk in another step.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult situation.
It is hard because let's say as someone that is not personally going through this, right? Of course, we all go through this, but let's say now, like you were saying, is somebody else. We only have up to a certain influence on, on how they're going to be managing each and every of those stages. And like you said, when it comes to the point, especially I think depression, the best we can do is just to stay there for them, show that we are there, trying to make it that phase as easier as possible, not meddling in their own business, but maybe I can cook something because that person do not even feel like, going to the kitchen and make a meal for oneself. Of course, prayers here is always, in all of the stages. So, but we are talking about something else because it is a process, and we do not have this power of changing the speed of the process, not even in ourselves, because sometimes when we are going through that ourselves, and I can say, oh, I see clearly myself in a state of anger or depression. I don't want to stay there. I want to, to move away from this. And but you cannot. I mean, you can just go baby steps. And so I think as long as we understand that in relation to ourselves and in relation to others, it's going to be easier for us to go through all this process. And if we have a group support, it takes a village as well to help us not only to raise a child, but to go to help us to overcome that. If we have this a group support, it's very good. Yes, Marley.
I was thinking about Noemi Judd and her lifelong battle with depression. And she tried to fight it for many, many years. And in the end, unfortunately, she committed suicide. So for some people, I don't know, there must be something in their past lives that created this situation. Don't you think?
Yes, absolutely, Marlene. That's what happened, not as some also only from past lives, but even from the present one, because it means we still are not capable of dealing with whatever we are carrying on. Like, this cycle of acceptance, like we were saying, and it's important that you brought this here as well. It could also represent lifetimes, right? I can be in a life that after going to a stage of denial, I just stay in the state of anger. God is bad, everyone is bad, everything that is happening to me is because of the world, and you keep on complicating your life. You die in a state of anger, continues I don't know how long in the spirit realm, just thinking that there was an injustice in relation to you, until there will be a point that you'll say, I can no longer stand the situation. And instead of being just voicing your anger, now you kind of voice, even not necessarily voicing, your state of nothing's going to change, life is miserable, and still denying the existence of God, because and then you get into this stage right? And then you can reincarnate even in a stage that they say, well, let's say it's better for this person to reincarnate, and maybe starting a new experience is going to help a little bit. And yeah, I mean, that's why I said, depending on the problem and depending on the person, it can take a reasonable amount of time for each time we go through that, or for the major structural problems. I'm sure we are still dealing with some of them in those stages. Okay, I may be resolved in this area, but in this other area, I'm still in the phase of denial or anger. But yes, that's really difficult and complication. And the way we do with ourselves, with our way of behaving, will wind up dictating what I sow is what I reap. And at this point is when many times it's so much easier to blame each and every one, and not to understand that it was our responsibility. But Sonia, did I answer the question, or it was okay?
Yes, it's funny because 2 days ago I mentioned to this person, oh, wait me, I'm going to Rio next weekend, I can cook for you. And then you mentioned exactly this. You can cook for this person that, wow, it's one way. And okay.
Yeah. The spirits are always alert, right?
See?
I don't even know why I said go and cook.
Yeah.
But it was what came to my mind.
Give me
so
the light way to take. Thank you.
Yeah. You know what? This is what we call the so many blessings we receive during the day without realizing that. I mean, if you were not to comment that, we wouldn't have known. But you yourself, perhaps. But it's still, maybe you would not recognize that it was a direct response to you saying, this is exactly what you have to do. Don't expect more. And don't think that this is not enough, right? Because many times we say, oh, but okay, maybe I could go there and cook for her, just she's gonna help, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I just leave that person alone. I don't even know whether the person is going to eat or not. Okay, we can rationalize, we can waste the opportunity. So this is the way of, let's say, the universe communicating with us. And many times we do not pay attention to that. And that's why we don't bless the, the little gifts, right? The little things. Okay, anyone else would like to say something at this point, or should I go ahead? Okay, let's move here. So many times we wonder what is going to happen to us, and quite often we feel impotent and uneasy when thinking about events that will next occur in our lives. The fact is that we are always the true artisans of our destinies. And whatever we sow today is what we are going to reap in the future. We are able to realize that whatever is in our way today follows a determination that we acquired for ourselves before the present incarnation. Again, it's not that this necessarily is going to appease that much the pain we are feeling today. Because taking responsibility in a way may even aggravate this pain. Like I said, sometimes it's easier or it feels better if I just blame everyone else. I was an unlucky person. I didn't have the right family. The whole world seemed to be against me. If you have any kind of spiritual inclination, you will blame or not God or whoever, all of those things. But now, with the maturity of our spirit, the idea here is for us to understand that nothing happens to us by chance. And if we are going through certain things, it is because we need to go through those things. If it's related to other people, we have a presence and a responsibility as well in relation to them, and that was assigned to us for a reason, to go through with them through this process as well. But the good news is that once you are ready to accept that it is the consequences of our actions, is when we wake up and say, well, but if it is up to me, why am I still messing up? Right? I don't want that anymore. I didn't like the experience. I don't want to go through that anymore. What can I do? And it's when we start looking for alternatives. And some of the answers are very, very simple, very rational. If I smile to others, chances are that others are going to smile back. But if I'm just slapping everyone else, what am I going to expect? From people, from life. And this is what we have to think about. Okay, like Chico Xavier would say, I cannot change my past, but I'm the artisan of my future. I can change my future. And remember that I always say it's not just about the future, it's about the present as well. Because when we change our attitude today, although we are still going through things from the past, I'm already a different person. I'm going to be already lighter. Maybe things are hard, but I will see, or I'll be able to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we are not talking about the tunnel that, okay, I died. No, I'm saying, metaphorically, like we say, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It may be dark now, but what I'm doing here is going to make me go through that light faster, in the sense of, feeling lighter, in the sense of, changing my behaviors, moving perspective, and all of this. Questions, comments? Yes, Marlene?
I especially like the second paragraph. The fact is that we are always the true artisans of our destinies. And whatever we sow today is what we are going to reap in the future. Boy, I've believed that for so many years, and here it is. To me, that's the most important one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you see, Marlon, like we were saying, it may not be so, but it is so hard for people to come to this realization. Because, since we are living in a world that we're still going to be facing, the struggles, difficulties, challenges, suffering, pain related to, to the experiences necessary that we will have to go through, and related to what we did in the past that we want to read from us in order not to repeat ourselves in those bad ways. Like a child, when the parents say, don't do that you're going to hurt yourself, they tend not to hear parents until they go and try for themselves, and well, wow, my parents were right. So we still have this process of, you know, being rebellious in a certain way, and until we test for ourselves the situation. And in this case, it is, like you said, it is so obvious and it seems so right and so just, but at the same time, whenever something bad happens, we try to move away our own responsibility. Anyone else?
We all have a destiny, and how we get there depends on what we do, I think.
No, it's absolutely right. We don't have it like many people say, oh, there is fate. It's not fate. There are indications, like, you know, like when you look at a person and say, well, this person for the past 10 years are doing this. The indication is that for quite a while, the person is going to still to be doing that. So this is not fate. This is indications. And of course, the spirits looking at us, they say, well, she has an inclination, good or bad, for this, okay? No, it doesn't mean necessarily just the bad things. Chances are he or she is going to continue in the same path because there is the pattern that they are living. So, but we have a destiny. The destiny is always for us to better ourselves, and situations are going to start appearing according to the triggers we are going to be assessing in our journey. So if I'm in a road, there is option A and B. If I go A, there will be one consequence. If I go B, there will be one consequence. But then I'm in route A, and there will be another A or B option and another A or B option. So, but who is directing me? Who is making me choose? It's me. And this is where, you know, what I sow today is what I'm going to reap in the future. I like very much this phrase from Eleanor Roosevelt. She says, courage before adversity. You have to accept whatever comes, and the only important thing is that you meet it with courage and with the best that you have to give. So when things are not necessarily going our way, whatever the adversity we are going through, feeling miserable, you know, thinking, giving up, because it's just an illusion, right? I may say, I'm going to give up, but we never give up. Okay, it is not in our nature to give up. I may give up even for one incarnation or two, but it will come to a point that I said that I'll go out from that state of depression and say, you know what, I can not no longer delay myself in this state. I have to do something about it, right? Any comments or? Okay, let's go to the next one. So, okay, go ahead.
I want to know.
Okay.
I want to know that the time lag. I mean, if you do something, say your behavior is less than suitable at the moment, is that potentially only going to manifest as a consequence in a future life, or is it going to happen in this life? Is there any knowledge as to how long these things take? Is there any indication of time lag? And is it dependent on the severity of the issue that one's dealing with?
You're talking about bad, good behavior, or both?
Both.
Okay, all right. No, there is not. Especially if we are talking about a bad behavior, okay? I mean, whatever behavior, the phrase is that one, whatever we reap, we sow is what we are going to reap. Okay.
Yes.
There are ways for us to minimize, let's say that we are talking about bad deeds. Okay. There are ways for us to minimize the damage that our sowing provoked. Okay, so let us always keep that in mind. There is always a way to, let's say, make amends or paying our debts with pain or with acceptance, saying, I know I did that. Let's get over with it. How can I change things, and not necessarily change things for you to make amends, in order for you to not repeat the same behavior, so that will be engraved in your spirit forever. I remember that when I did that, I mean, not only was bad for whoever I did it, but the consequences to me were not good as well. The criminal always return to the scene of the crime. They do, because they will keep that on their memory for a long, long time, until they feel that they have made amends in the relation to that. It's not a physical returning to where we committed a crime, and crime here may signify so many things, not only depriving someone else's from their life, committing a murder. So when we do something that is very bad, and we return to the spirit realm, and we come to the spirits that are going to be our coaches for future incarnations, they will say, there is this really bad situation that I know that in order for you to feel free to rid yourself from guilty, remorse, and depression and anguish, because when we start growing, we start seeing the consequences of our actions. This is what we feel. And we would advise an incarnation where you have to face some type of timeout, or a bad situation, to help you keep on going straight. And then when we are in the spirit realm, we are always very courageous, and we say, oh, but this is too little, I want more. And they will say, no, there is no rush. And maybe if we give you more than what we know you are capable of paying, we will succumb completely. So this is why, everything depends on what the faults are and what is the current condition of the spirit. Because like I always emphasize, this is let's call it a race where everyone has to be a winner. I want you to be a winner. So I'm not going to put obstacles in your way that I know for sure that you will not be able to cope with, although we always think that we can cope with much more than we can. Like, let's say a mother-to-be has all the intentions of going to the hospital and go through labor without any kind of anesthetic. No, this is the old way. I want my child to be born in a natural way, and this and that, okay, please. This is just an example. Do whatever you, mothers to be, do whatever you want to do, okay? But then the first contraction comes, the second comes, the third comes, and they say, this is not even the birth. This is just contraction. Are you sure? And they will say, you know what? After, I don't know, 5, 6, 10, the majority will say no. Here is my arm. Please do something about it, right? So the spirits, they know, and others will go through that. They say, no, I can go through that. But that's why it's so hard to do that. And when we do good deeds, first of all, we start immediately benefiting from it. Like I said, the whole state of mind, the whole, being in peace with your conscience. And even when you're not reaping direct, immediate benefits from what you're sowing today, you know that along the line, you are going to be reaping the benefits because this belongs to you. And nothing is going to move that away from your destiny. So that's why there is not a right time, an exact time where we are going to gather, these responses.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Anything else? No? Okay, so let's go to one point that I always like to emphasize, the self-acceptance. So self-acceptance is being loving and happy with who you are now. Just remember, today we are the best version of ourselves. We may not even be behaving that good today. Okay, get back to your normal self later on, but still we are the best version of ourselves, because if we're not that good now because of a situation, maybe days before, years before, incarnations before, we would be going crazy facing the same things we are facing now. It is an agreement with yourself to appreciate, validate, accept, and support who you are and what you have at this moment. Self-acceptance leads to a new life with new possibilities that did not exist before because you were caught up in the struggle against reality. Some have this misconception that if you are happy with yourself, you won't change things about yourself. This isn't true. You don't have to be unhappy with yourself to know and actively change things you don't like. So the self-acceptance process is, okay, I'm like this. I have all these realizations. I'm enlightening myself on ways that can make me feel even better. I understand that I have my limitations. I accept that before I did things that I'm not proud today, but I'm going to feel content with who I am. Also, because I have the determination to continue moving forward and accepting that I can even be better than I am now. Question, comment? Okay, let's go. Self-acceptance. Allowing yourself to be loved by loving yourself is the most important part of acceptance and what makes it extremely powerful healing tool. Love is the energy that underlies all of life. Love heals. When you love what is, you find the healing it contains. So again, this process doesn't mean that I'm going to accommodate and say, oh, I'm good enough, or comparing ourselves to others that are not in the same position as we are. We always have to aim higher, not to feel bad or depressed. What can I not be like, so and so that are already seeing so much better than I am? You're getting there. It is your process alone. But if you do not accept if you do not accept that it is this process, that yes, you're still going to fail. And I'm sorry to say, for many incarnations yet, because until we reach the stage of pure spirits, we will be regretting some of opportunities, even if it's not doing bad, but some opportunities we may lose of doing good to ourselves and to others, not only to others, but to ourselves as well. So this is why it is important to say, okay, I respect, like, you know, like when we talk this a lot when we are talking about nourishment or exercising in terms of health. I know the limitations of my body. Now we have to understand the limitations of our spirit. So we do not go by leaps and bounds. You know, nature doesn't go by leaps and bounds. Everything is gradual. And gradual is also this process. So if at this moment we are already opening ourselves to listen to this, to go through, you know, this personal journey, oh my God, it took us, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 millenniums for us to be here today. It's been a long road, I guarantee you. Okay, so that's the process. Comments, questions?
You
I
know,
think
Yes.
one day
let
I started thinking
Yes.
about people I may have hurt in my life, you know. And I would think about one person and I would say, well, that was certainly shallow of me to be so inconsiderate and et cetera, et cetera. But it's not too bad, just one. So a couple days later, somebody else pops up in your mind. And you go, oh my, now I've got two. And it keeps going. I mean, I don't think it ever ends. You're always going to find somebody who's going to pop up in your mind whom we haven't thought of in years and years and years. And you're going to realize what your debt really is.
But you see, Marlene, this is the process. The process here is to acknowledge and not to delay on regret, guilt. Is what can I do to make this better? How can I somehow make peace with my mind? Sometimes life will offer us an opportunity to make amends directly to the people we mistreated, or sometimes not even that. We had the chance to help, to do something about, and we didn't. And life will find a way to make us feel better, to make us feel even when not necessarily paying back directly to the same person, but to the world. And one of the things that the spirits tell us, saying, you know, remember, in the past, whatever the aggravation you did now, in the past we were there, you know, slitting throats, killing people for no matter what, and not having an inch of guilty conscience. So it is still not good. It's still not the ideal. But it's exactly within this process of realizing, oh my God, yeah, there was one person. Oh my, no, it's just not one, it's two. Oh, it's 10, it's 15. Okay, let me pay more attention for the future. I don't want to do that again. I don't think people deserve that. I don't deserve that in terms of, you know, everything that is going to provoke in me. And this is the process. Sonia, you were going to say something?
yes, this line between allowing yourself to be loved and to believe, oh, you are the best. Oh, everybody loves me because I'm so proud. I'm from to myself, and instead to open for the love, you put the others far from you.
Yeah.
Then this is a line you need to pay attention, to be balanced.
Yeah.
because the proud and superb could be blind yourself, and then you're not able to see
Yeah.
the steps you need to improve
Yeah.
in our life.
Yeah, the loving here is good that you mentioned that. Has nothing to do if, looking in the mirror and say, oh, how great I am, how, people love me and how pretty, how this or that. No, it's about you, first of all, reminding yourself constantly that your father or father mother is the greatest there is, because it's the creator itself. Okay, so I am a child of God. I mean, I couldn't have a better parent, right? And it is this being, I always resisting saying he or she, it's always a God, it, or this being, the creator, um, gave me a purpose. And I'm in the process of this purpose. And what Marlene said here, Marlene, you see this phrase, you find the healing. So when we go through this, reflecting about what we did, what we are still doing, what can we do to improve, what can we do to make amends, is a process of healing. But always understanding that, okay, I did that because I didn't know better. Um, the option at the time, it didn't seem so bad, and but now I see it is. Yes, you want to say something, Marlene?
Yes, I think finding your balance, in other words, being able to handle all of this,
Mm-hmm.
that balance comes from within yourself.
Yes,
I'm working
absolutely.
on that.
Yeah. So remember, the most powerful and wonderful healing tools are often the ones that are manifest around you in everyday life. This is because they work. Sometimes it is easy to miss them because they are not flashy or popular, or because they are misunderstood. Healing does not have to be a struggle. Oh, I love this. I love this picture, right? This is what I want to do, to peel off whatever is cloudy, dark, shadows, but it's depend on us. It's absolutely up to us. And like we said before, uh, it's baby steps. It's little things that will come our way and give us the opportunity to move in the right direction. And with this little acts, we will feel each time more empowered in terms of feeling good about ourselves as well. And it starts to even the balance, okay, there is 1 2 10 people that I was not that nice, but now I was nice to 20. So I'm learning, I'm doing better. And this is, like I said, it doesn't need to be a bad experience. It can be a good experience, you see. For us, we don't need to learn through pain. Say, oh, this way is so much better, right?
The hardest thing is to learn to forgive yourself.
Yeah. And finally here, remember that we said we were going to talk about the Serenity Prayer. Father, give us courage to change what must be altered, serenity to accept what cannot be helped, and the insight to know the one from the other. Like in all this process, the realization is there is still a long way for us to go. Yes, but I'm not going to look at the half empty glass. I'm going to look at the half full glass. I will focus on what I have achieved already. Wow, look how much I was capable to do already, right? Okay, it's not full, but I managed so far. It was completely empty before, and I'm doing it. I can do it, and I'm going to go into this direction. There are things it will be in our control at the moment, and others not necessarily. So let me deal with what I can deal now and go from there. Some things, like we were saying when Sally asked that question about when, how, we still need a bit more strength to go through that. If I buy a set of dumbbells from 1 pound to 10, I do not start with the 10 one. I have to start with the 1. And whoever is going to put the 10 in my hand knows that I'm going to hurt myself and not even be able to do the 1 anymore, because now I'm hurt. I pulled a muscle, whatever. So now I start with the 1 and not looking, oh my God, I just thinking I have to be 10. Why am I not 10? No, thinking, wow, the day before that, I was not even doing the 1. Now I do the 1. It's not going to be long. I'm going to do the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 10 and so forth, you know. But if we, and this is where self-acceptance and self-loving comes. Be happy with what you already were able to achieve. It's a blessing. And we're here not only surviving, but growing and becoming each time more. And remember, when life gives you lemons, there are always a way for us to make lemonade, right? We are creative beings, and we will find a way for sure. Okay, thank you for your comment as well in the chat. Okay, well, next week we will be in a different topic, okay? Any final comments before we go to the final prayer? Anything?
No,
Okay,
just like
thank
Rick,
you.
I'd just like to say thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Sally. Okay, let me then